Hey people, get ready to crush everyday IELTS and CELPIP tests for all modules and make your dreams come true. I'm your motivator and I'll be guiding you through the test prep videos. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or you'll be missing out on some serious preparation.
Section 1. You will hear a woman calling a doctor's clinic to register as a new patient. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
Good morning, Lakeside Medical Center. You're speaking with Daniel. How can I help you today?
Oh, hello there. Yes, I'm calling because I'd like to register as a new patient, please. I've just moved to the area, so I haven't got a local GP yet.
Of course, not a problem at all. I can take your details over the phone and get you set up on our system. Shall we make a start?
Yes, please, that'd be lovely, thank you.
Right. Could I begin with your surname, please?
Yes, it's Whitmore. Whitmore.
Whitmore, got that, thank you. And your first name?
It's Caroline.
Caroline, perfect. And your date of birth?
It's the 14th of March, 1989.
14th of March, 89, lovely. Now, could I take your current address, please?
Yes, of course. It's number 7, Birchwood Lane.
Number 7, Birchwood Lane. And do you have a postcode for that?
That's SW6, 3NP.
SW6, 3NP, brilliant, thank you. And what's the best number to reach you on?
My mobile is 07823 461590.
Let me just read that back to you, 07823 for 61590. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful. Now, were you registered with a GP at your previous address?
I was, yes. My last doctor was Dr. Fernsby. She was at a practice down in Bristol. I was with that surgery for about 4 years.
Right, Dr. Fernsby in Bristol. We may be in touch with them to have your medical records transferred over, if that's all right with you.
Oh, absolutely, yes, that's fine.
Perfect. Now, we do ask all new patients to fill out a short health questionnaire, but I can run through a couple of quick questions now to save time. Are you currently taking any medication?
Yes, I am, actually. I take iron tablets. I've been a bit anemic on and off for a couple of years, so my previous GP put me on those.
Iron tablets, noted. And are there any long-term conditions or allergies we should be aware of?
Not really, no. Just the anemia. I'm otherwise fairly healthy, touch wood.
That's good to hear. And finally, we'll need to book you in for a new patient appointment with one of our GPS. It's quite routine, just a general check. Is there a particular day that tends to work best for you?
Let me think. I work most mornings, Monday through to Friday, so it would need to be, actually, no, wait. Could I come in on a Tuesday morning? I usually have a bit more flexibility with my schedule on Tuesdays.
Tuesday morning, absolutely. Let me just have a look at the diary. Yes, we do have availability on Tuesday mornings. I'll pass that preference along to the bookings team and they'll be in touch.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your help.
Not at all. Welcome to the practice. You should receive a confirmation text within 24 hours once your registration has been processed. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, I think that's everything. Thanks ever so much.
My pleasure. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.
You too, bye-bye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have some time to check your answers to section 1. Section 2. You will hear a park ranger explaining a nature reserve's walking trails and wildlife. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, and welcome to Greenwood Valley Nature Reserve. I'm Sarah, one of the park rangers here, and I'll be giving you a brief overview of our walking trails, the wildlife you might encounter, and the facilities available to you today. The reserve covers an area of 350 hectares, making it one of the largest protected green spaces in this part of the country. It was established in 1987 and encompasses a rich variety of habitats, including ancient woodland, open meadows, heathland, and wetlands. We have 4 marked walking trails. The meadow loop is 2 kilometers long. The wetlands walkway is 1.5 kilometers. The Ridgeline Trail is 4.5 kilometers, and the Ancient Oak Trail is our longest at 7 kilometers. Trail maps are available at the Visitor Center. If you're visiting with young children, I strongly recommend the Wetlands Walkway. The path is completely flat, wide, and suitable for pushchairs. Illustrated information boards along the route explain the plants and animals of the wetland habitat, making it a wonderful introduction for little ones. The Ridgeline Trail has been recently extended and now runs all the way to the eastern boundary of the reserve, offering sweeping panoramic views across the valley. It's a moderate walk, but do allow an extra hour if you plan to complete the full route. For those hoping to spot some of our rarer wildlife, head for the Ancient Oak Trail. The woodland area along this route is where red squirrels are most commonly seen, particularly in the early morning hours. We also have lesser spotted woodpeckers nesting there, so it is well worth the longer walk. Now, a word of caution regarding adders. Britain's only venomous snake is occasionally spotted basking on the heathland paths during warm, sunny weather. If you do encounter one, the most important thing is to stand still and wait for it to move away of its own accord. Please do not attempt to handle it or step over it. I'm delighted to announce that a brand new wildlife hide opened here this spring. It overlooks the main lake and is an excellent spot for watching herons, kingfishers, and grey wagtails at close range. The hide is open every day from dawn to dusk. The reserve itself is open every day of the year. During the summer season, that's May through September, we remain open until 9 in the evening, giving you plenty of time for a late afternoon walk. In winter, the gates close at 5 o'clock. A few notes on our facilities. The car park is free of charge for all visitors, so there are absolutely no parking fees to worry about. I should also mention that our exhibition room, which normally hosts displays about the reserve's ecology and history, is currently closed for renovation and will not reopen until October. We offer popular guided birdwatching tours led by our experienced rangers. These require advance booking. You can reserve a place through our website or by telephoning the visitor center. I would strongly suggest booking at least a week ahead, as spaces fill up very quickly, especially during summer. That covers the main points for today. Please take a trail map from the information desk, enjoy your time on the trails, and don't hesitate to speak to any of our rangers if you need assistance. We hope Greenwood Valley leaves a truly lasting impression on you. Thank you, and enjoy your visit.
That is the end of Section 2. You now have some time to check your answers to Section 2. Section 3. You will hear two students and a lecturer discussing a field trip report on local ecosystems. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30.
Dr. Evans, thank you for meeting with us today. Sarah and I wanted to go through our field trip report with you before we submit the final version.
Of course. I've had a quick look at your draft, and there are a few things I'd like to discuss. Let's start with the overall aims. Tom, could you summarize what the trip was designed to achieve?
Certainly. The main purpose was to assess biodiversity across different habitat zones in the Greenfield Nature Reserve. We wanted to compare species richness between the zones and link our findings to broader conservation issues.
Good. And how many zones did you actually survey in the end?
We surveyed 4 distinct zones: the woodland edge, the wetland margin, the open grassland, and the riparian corridor along the stream.
Right. Now, Tom, I noticed the vegetation section seems a bit thin. Were there any difficulties during that part of the fieldwork?
Yes, unfortunately some areas were completely inaccessible due to flooding. After the heavy rainfall the week before, the lower wetland sections were waterlogged, so we had to skip a couple of transects we'd originally planned.
That's understandable, but you should explain that clearly in the methodology. Sarah, what about the data analysis stage? How did that go overall?
Honestly, the data analysis took much longer than we had planned. We underestimated how complex the species identification would be, especially for the plant specimens. We ended up spending nearly twice the time we'd allocated for it.
I see. And what about the invertebrate sampling? That's quite a specialized area.
We did collect samples, but I think the invertebrate data really needs more research before we can draw any firm conclusions. We weren't confident about some of our identifications, and the sample sizes were quite small to be meaningful.
Fair enough. How did the water quality testing go, Sarah?
That was definitely the most challenging part of the whole fieldwork. The flow rates were higher than expected, which made it difficult to get accurate readings, and one of our testing kits gave inconsistent results throughout the day.
Yes, water testing can be tricky in those conditions. Now, were there any particularly interesting species recorded during the visit?
Actually, yes. Sarah spotted a marsh harrier over the wetland margin on our second visit. That was quite a significant find for this particular area.
A marsh harrier? That's genuinely surprising. I wouldn't have expected that species at Greenfield at all. Well done, Sarah.
Thank you. And the plant species count was better than we expected overall. We recorded 43 species across the 4 zones, which is well above the average for similar surveys conducted in this region.
Excellent. Now, let's talk about the report structure itself. Looking at your introduction, what do you think it's currently missing?
I think we need to add a clear statement of the research objectives. At the moment it's quite descriptive but doesn't explicitly set out what we were trying to find out or measure.
Precisely. That should be the first thing a reader encounters. And the conclusion, Sarah, what's your view on that section as it stands?
I think it needs to be more concise. We've tried to cover too many points and it ends up feeling unfocused. We should cut it down and sharpen the 2 or 3 key messages we want to leave the reader with.
I agree completely. Focus on your strongest takeaways rather than trying to summarize everything. Overall, you have a solid basis here. Just address those points and it should be a very strong final report.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. We'll get started on the revision straight away.
That is the end of section 3. You now have some time to check your answers to section 3. Section 4. You will hear university lecture on the impact of the Industrial Revolution on urban migration. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today's lecture focuses on one of the most profound demographic shifts in modern history, the mass movement of people from rural areas to industrial towns and cities during the Industrial Revolution, which in Britain spanned roughly from the 1760s to the 1840s. This phenomenon, known as urban migration, was not a simple or voluntary process. It was driven by a complex interplay of forces that pushed people away from the countryside and pulled them toward emerging industrial centers. Understanding these forces gives us crucial insight into how modern urban societies were formed. Let us begin with what historians call the push factors, the conditions in rural Britain that compelled people to leave. Perhaps the most significant of these was the Enclosure Acts, a series of parliamentary laws that privatized common land previously shared by farming communities, and which resulted in widespread poverty among the rural laboring classes who had depended entirely on that land. Simultaneously, a transformation was occurring in the fields themselves. The mechanization of farming tasks such as threshing and ploughing dramatically reduced the demand for manual labor in villages across England and Wales. As a direct consequence, thousands of families found they had lost their traditional livelihood, the means by which they had sustained themselves for generations, with virtually no alternative source of income available to them locally. With no land, no work, and no prospects, migration was less a choice and more a necessity. Equally important in explaining urban migration are what we call the pull factors, the attractions that industrial cities offered. Factory owners were willing to pay wages that substantially exceeded anything rural work had ever provided, and this financial incentive was enormously powerful for families teetering on the edge of survival. Beyond individual earnings, a critical enabler of mass migration was the remarkable expansion of railways during the 1830s and 1840s, which made traveling to distant industrial centers far faster and considerably more affordable for working-class families. Furthermore, cities gradually came to offer access to healthcare services, dispensaries, hospitals, and apothecaries that were simply unavailable in rural communities, adding yet another compelling dimension to their appeal. Together, these factors created a powerful gravitational pull toward the new industrial urban centers. Now, the consequences of this mass migration were dramatic and not always positive. By 1851, a landmark had been crossed. More than half of England's population lived in towns and cities, an extraordinary milestone that marked Britain as the world's first urbanized nation. However, the sheer speed of urban growth created severe humanitarian problems. Cities were wholly unprepared for the scale of the influx, and the resulting overcrowding produced ideal conditions for the rapid spread of disease. Cholera, in particular, devastated urban populations, with major epidemics striking in 1832 and again in 1848, killing tens of thousands of people in cities such as London, Manchester, and Liverpool. To appreciate the full scale of demographic change, consider Manchester, perhaps the most emblematic industrial city of the era. Manchester's population grew by approximately 300% between 1800 and 1850, transforming it from a modest market town into a vast industrial metropolis within a single lifetime. This explosive growth was replicated across dozens of British towns and cities, from Birmingham to Leeds to Glasgow. Inevitably, such rapid and concentrated demographic change fundamentally altered the social structure of British society. Traditional hierarchies rooted in land ownership began to give way to new class divisions defined by industrial capital and wage labor, creating a social landscape that would characterize Britain throughout the following 2 centuries. In summary, the Industrial Revolution triggered an unprecedented wave of urban migration, shaped by rural displacement on one hand and the promise of industrial employment on the other, and it permanently transformed both the physical and social landscape of Britain. The legacies of these shifts, visible in urban planning, public health legislation, and social organization, continue to shape our cities to this day. Next week, we will examine how analogous processes of industrialization and urban migration unfolded across continental Europe and North America.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have some time to check your answers to Section 4. That is the end of the IELTS listening test. You now have some time to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Hey people, how was your test? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or you'll be missing out on some serious fun. See you tomorrow!